Man mocks his father while in flight, without knowing who he is. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. Respect came easily to Alan Thompson, even if he didn't always ask for it. He was an executive who had served as a military officer and was enough to make people sit up straight. All he was attempting to do today was go back to Boston following an exhausting week spent in Chicago attending business meetings. Jake, his 8-year-old son, was going with him and was looking forward to their weekend activities. Alan located their seats in a row in the middle of the aircraft as he and Jake made their way down the aisle. Jake sat at the window and observed the ground crew by putting his nose against the glass. In the hopes that they might be lucky and have a little more room, Alan took a seat in the center, leaving the aisle seat unoccupied. A man in his mid-40s came over a few minutes later, puffing slightly as he got to the overhead bin. With a loud thump, he settled his suitcase into the seat and shifted uncomfortable right away. Alan gave him a quick glance and a courteous nod, but all he got was a chilly look. With a heavy sigh, the guy straightened and said to himself, although Alan chose to ignore him and concentrate on assisting Jake with his seatbelt, it was evident that the man was uncomfortable. He moved to the very edge of his seat and leaned almost on the armrest, as though he wanted to put more space between him and Alan. "Is something wrong?" Alan questioned in a cool, collected tone. With a frustrated expression, the man turned to face him. "Yes, there is a problem. Is it not apparent to you? You take up too much room and smell like cheap cologne." Alan was surprised at how direct it was. "Excuse me? You heard me," spat out the guy. "You and your child are a bother. It's unbelievable that I have to spend the entire flight sitting next to you." The violent remarks hurled at his father caused Jake's eyes to widen. Alan had a wave of protection, but remained calm. "If we're giving you any distress, I apologize. We'll do our best to avoid becoming too noticeable." "That's not the point," the man shot back. "You guys shouldn't be permitted to fly. You consider yourself to be so significant, but in reality, you just burden other people." Alan sensed the growing anxiety, his son's eyes remaining wide and perplexed. The other passengers began to notice the discussion as the plane filled up. Sensing that things may get out of hand, one of them, a young lady called Lisa who was seated in a row behind, pulled out her phone and started to record. Alan inhaled deeply. "Look, our only goal is to reach our home. This type of action is not necessary." The guy leaned forward, contorting his disdainful expression. "Do you really believe that wearing a suit and owning an ostentatious watch makes you superior to everyone else? You're not, though. With a child who most likely doesn't even know who his true father is, you're simply an adulterous brat." Alan felt the remark like a kick to the stomach, but before he could say anything, a hard hand closed over his shoulder. He looked over and saw a big man with a serious expression looming over him. "Sir," the guy remarked, looking directly at the displeased traveler, "I must beg that you please stop being so agitated. Your actions are not appropriate." Startled, the man looked up. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm a police officer," the man said, revealing his badge, "and I don't put up with harassment. I've been recording everything I've heard of your abuse." The impolite passenger's face lost all of its color. He turned to look around and saw that a number of other passengers were now observing and documenting the altercation. His bravado soon subsided, giving way to a twitch of nervousness. Alan saw the man's response and experienced a mixture of relief and validation. The power dynamic had radically changed as a result of the police officer's involvement. Jake pulled at his dad's cuff. "Dad, what's happening?" Alan gave his kid a comforting grip on the hand. "Jake, don't worry. The individual is now receiving attention after simply acting rudely." The policeman looked back at Alan. "Are you okay, sir?" Alan gave a nod. "Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you for your assistance." The officer took another look at the impolite passenger. "I propose that you express regret to this man and his child. If not, we may need to involve the airline personnel, and you may be asked to leave this aircraft." The man's arrogance had completely vanished. He gave a halting, half-hearted apology without looking directly at Alan. After glaring at him, the officer nodded to Alan and walked back a few seats to his seat. The flight attendants were getting ready to take off as the plane was now completely boarding. Alan turned to face his kid, who was still in shock from the incident. He said, "It's all over now, buddy. Let's just enjoy the flight." Jake gave a nod, but his face didn't change. "Why was that man so mean, Dad?" Alan sighed, trying to think of anything to say. People sometimes take out their frustrations on others because they are very angry within. However, we refuse to let it alter who we are. We continue to be nice and strong. Jake gave this some thought and then grinned a bit. "You're strong, Dad." Alan tossed his son's hair about. "I'm grateful, Jake. And you too." The stress slowly released as the jet taxied and lifted off. Alan reclined on his chair, attempting to unwind. Lisa was still clutching her phone behind him, he observed. She met his gaze and nodded encouragingly. The airliner started its descent into Boston a couple hours later. As they prepared to get off, the atmosphere had relaxed and people were having quiet conversations. Lisa got up and came over to talk to Alan as they taxied to the gate. "Hello, I just wanted to say how sad I am that you had to experience that. I'm going to post the entire thing online that I taped. People must realize that such behavior is unacceptable." Alan gave a grateful smile. "I'm grateful, Lisa. That has great significance. I hope it will have an impact." She gave a nod. "I believe it will. You carried it off with such elegance. It's a blessing your son has you." "I'm grateful," Alan said, his pride shining brightly. "I just hope he learned something positive from all this." Alan thought back on the day's events as they got off the plane and moved through the terminal. He felt thankful, yet tired at the same time. The off-duty officer's involvement and the passengers' support had transformed what could have been a traumatic event into a teaching moment about compassion and resiliency. Once they got home, Alan put Jake to bed, who was already tired from the long day. In a whisper, "Good night, buddy." He brushed a stray hair off of Jake's forehead. "Good night, Dad," a half-drowsy Jake said. With a gentle shut, Alan went to his own room. Sitting on the edge of his bed, he considered how rapidly circumstances might change and how crucial it was to always do the right thing, even when it was tough. After Lisa's video went viral a few days later, there was a lot of indignation and support for Alan and Jake. Individuals from various walks of life related their personal experiences with rudeness and bigotry, and many complimented Alan on his cool-headed reply. In order to better manage such circumstances in the future, Oceanic Airways announced additional training programs for its employees and made a public apology. In addition, they gave Alan and Jake free tickets for their subsequent journey, which Alan politely accepted. That flight turned out to be more than simply a personal struggle for Alan. It acted as a spark for change, igniting conversations about civility and empathy in public settings. It served as a reminder to everybody that confronting rudeness and discrimination, no matter how little the act may appear, can have a noteworthy impact. With their relationship becoming even closer, Alan and Jake carried on with their lives as the days stretched into weeks. They were aware that they had overcome a difficult situation and emerged stronger than before. The influence of Alan's calm power and Jake's naive resilience had extended well beyond the flight. They both learned a vital lesson from the incident. Respect and decency are essential, and it is our collective duty to uphold them. It also served as a reminder of the strength of community and the ability of strangers to band together in unexpected ways to support and defend one another. And so Alan and Jake continued their trip, their tale acting as a ray of hope and a constant reminder of the value of standing up for what is right, wherever it may lead. Alan Thompson's interaction on the airplane teaches us the value of speaking out against discrimination and bullying. Along with the assistance of other passengers and the involvement of an off-duty police officer, Alan's cool-headed and collected response to the disrespectful passenger demonstrates the strength of the community in battling injustice. The narrative emphasizes that respect and dignity are essential human rights and that it is everyone's duty to uphold them in all circumstances. It also demonstrates how deeds of kindness and unity may turn traumatic circumstances into potent teaching moments for empathy and resilience. Alan's tale serves as a reminder to not let other people's negativity dictate how we behave. Instead, we may promote a more welcoming and courteous atmosphere by remaining composed and advocating for others as well as ourselves. Have you ever seen or been in an instance when someone was treated unfairly? What was the outcome of the encounter, and how did you react? Post your ideas and anecdotes in the comments section below. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.